You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
I'm a writer of songs, pretty little ditties and sing along.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Ashley Tepper.
And I'm Joe Iconis.
And you're listening to the Album Podcast.
Today we're going to be talking about Right Place, Wrong Time, as sung by Katrina Dideriksen and Eric William Morris.
This song is sad, it's exciting, it's got twists and turns. It's a great episode.
It's a great episode, and this song is the song that I always say is my most autobiographical. So listen to the episode and you'll hear why.
And then check in on Joe. Make sure he's doing okay.
Bit by bit, oh, my hands are shaking, my head is hot, he sneezes and he fidgets as well.
Right place, wrong time. Right place
/ wrong time. So this is a song that was originated by and is performed on the album by the same two folks, frequent collaborators. Mm-hmm. Where shall we start?
Where do we start? Well, yeah, let's start with the people.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about the song. So the people are Eric William Morris. Is this the first time we've spoken about him on Album Podcast?
I believe so, although he's certainly on the album a lot, but I guess his songs are towards the second half of the album.
Yeah. He sort of makes his first appearance here, I guess. Eric William Morris is someone who is one of my best friends. And
you just sounded like you were 6 years old. It was very cute. He's one of my best friends. We share crayons at recess.
And one of my most frequent collaborators. And he is another one who I met through auditions.
Yeah.
Eric auditioned for the workshop production of The Black Suits at SPF at the Public Theater in 2008. I had never seen him before. Eric walked in the room and he auditioned for the role of John Amoroso. And he was really good, and I've talked about this before, I immediately was like, oh, this guy's too handsome. Get out of here. I immediately in my brain was just like, I don't want to, I'm not doing that. Go somewhere else, buddy. Because I had this idea, of like art is real and I need people who look like people, not this model.
This handsome guy.
This handsome son of a bitch coming in here. And so I really counted him out. John Simpkins, the director, was really like, I think he's really good. Like he's really got something. And so I remember he came back and I was just like, I just don't know. And then it was Jason Tam. Jason Tam played the role.
Also very handsome.
Yeah. Also beautifully handsome. Yeah. But it was always, I just wanted Jason Tam, like I was like, it should just be him.
Yeah.
It was just right. And it was like, we were doing this exercise of like, we got to see these new actors, but it's like, it should be Jason Tam. And he was so beautiful and he was great. So that happened. So then we were doing a run of Things to Ruin, and we were short this one guy, this one role. And so we had auditions, and people auditioned, and nobody really felt right to me. And then John Simpkins must have been the person who was like, what about that Eric William Morris guy? And I remember being like, okay, cool. And so we auditioned Eric, which at the time was literally a room I believe we were rehearsing Plant That Ate Dirty Socks, maybe? Or maybe that was a different thing.
Well, this was the run of Things to Ruin that happened in the Zipper Factory, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And no, our auditions were at Ars Nova. Mm-hmm. And so it was like me behind the table, John behind the table, and then Jason Sweet Tooth Williams was like running the auditions. So he was like calling people in, and then he was like sitting behind the table and watching. It truly is something where it's like, I feel like if anyone tried to do that today, they would immediately be canceled.
It sounds like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where you set up a fake audition.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to audition one person.
Right.
You wanted to look real.
Literally, that's what it was. And so Eric auditioned, and it was like, okay, this guy's pretty good. This is pretty good. I liked him. After our first rehearsal, we were rehearsing downtown. We must have been rehearsing at NYU, and I said to Eric, would you want to get a drink or something? after rehearsal, and he was like, okay, yeah, and Eric has talked about this, and he was like, he felt like that was his real audition. Like he felt like me and John and Jason, we all went to get a drink. We were like, what's this guy's deal? Is he cool or not? And we went to it used to be called Boxers on 4th Street, right by the little park there, and now it's the Spaniard. But we went there and we had some drinks and got to know Eric, and truly it's been like no looking back ever since. And he's the leading man of my dreams. He was in Blood Song of Love as the musician, and he was in Be More Chill at Two River as the squip. And he's done a million things with me. He's Mr. Maccabee in the Christmas show, and he's remained as handsome as ever. He's actually gotten more classically handsome as he's aged. But the thing that I love about him is that he is like 100% like a character man trapped in a leading man's body, which provides such a incredible tension to all of his performances in a way that is inescapable. It's hard to articulate, but
that speaks to your thing of like you wish that people could meet not in auditions, because it's almost impossible to portray that in audition to like show all of those parts of you.
Yeah, of course.
And so you wouldn't know it until you saw someone perform and like worked with them in a room. Yeah. But yeah, no, that is very true. Like Eric, he has so many like shades to every performance, but you think you're going to get a handsome leading man and then you get so much more.
Yeah. And he can succeed as the handsome leading man.
He did Mamma Mia and not Mamma Mia Murders.
Right.
Spoiler for another episode of the podcast.
Mamma Mia Murders. Yeah, he did the original. He did Mamma Mia 1.
Yeah.
But he can do that. He's very adept at doing that. But he's just so interesting, and he can do so many things. And listen, like Eric, he's done a million. He's the lead in King Kong. He was the human lead in King Kong. King Kong is the lead in King Kong. But he did that on Broadway. He's done movies and TV. He's done a million things. And still, I just think Eric William Morris should never, ever, ever be unemployed. He should just go from thing to thing to thing as much as he wants to. Anytime I see a show on Broadway and there is a role that Eric could even remotely play and he's not playing it, I want to throttle the creative team. Like truly. There was a show that was just announced with the casting. There's a male lead that literally I read it and I went, ugh, like out loud publicly, because it's that's the most boring casting I've ever read in my life, and it should be Eric William Morris. And I know that he will eventually be that person who's just in every fucking thing. But I just want it selfishly because I want to see it. And I'm also already angry at all the things that will take him away from my work. But I'm always happy to work with him as long as he'll have me.
So we've already talked about Katrina Rose Dideriksen in terms of like the actress, but bringing the two of them together for this song, when, I feel like because of Blood Song of Love and because like I've heard their voices together on so many songs and shows of yours, it just feels so like, oh wait, is this not a song that didn't already exist? Like it almost feels like, wait, like when it happened, it was like, wait, does that make sense? It felt like it already existed.
Yeah, no, it really, yes, I agree with you. And this is a song where their shared history, I think, actually kind of informs the writing of it. Because as I was writing it, I kind of knew that I wanted it for the two of them, and it helped. It added to the whole thing, And I love that in Blood Song they were. Katrina played multiple roles. There was a lot of doubling in Blood Song, except for the musician, which is Eric's part. And her first role as the wife of Banana, at the top of the show, she was very adversarial towards him, and they have a sort of a gun standoff, and then at the end of the show, she plays a character who the musician is very kind to. But I do always think of her as like the wife of Banana. I think of her as this woman who's trying to literally murder the musician. He's trying to shoot him because he's come to like take away her man.
Played by Lance Rubin.
Lance Rubin, yeah. And to bring them together in this, duet where they really are two people on the same wavelength. It's like they're two people who are just like in sync. That's something that they never quite did in Bloodsong. But as you said, it feels like, how has this not existed already?
So without any spoilers, this is also a song that does have a twist where maybe it ends up how people, I guess that's a spoiler in itself. But I guess I think
we could talk about spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to the song, stop,
listen to the song first.
And come back.
It'll be a better experience. Song first, podcast second. You wouldn't listen to the director's commentary before the movie either, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is a twist that is surprising even as a twist, because you're like, wait, what? Like, I'm sad about how this song ends.
Yeah, this song is one that I frequently come back to when people ask me which of my songs is my favorite. And I always say Starting to Forget, which is one of the first songs I ever wrote, first real songs I ever wrote, that's later on in the album. But this one, Right Place, Wrong Time, is as close to a favorite song of my own as I have. And I think it's a few reasons. It's because it's exactly what I intended it to be. When I sort of had the idea for it, the idea was in my head for a really long time, and I wasn't able to articulate the idea. I knew I wanted to write something that was about feeling sort of stuck and feeling like you're waiting for your ship to come in and you don't think it's coming in, and I had a song with ship imagery that was kind of like circling around in my brain, and I couldn't quite make it work, and then once I kind of hit upon this idea of like a writer and a singer, and it's a duet, and it's this kind of like throwback country song, something just clicked about it. And then when I realized that I wanted to kill him sort of towards the end of the song at her hand, that's when everything made sense. And that's when I was like, okay, this is what the song is. And the way that the song turned out is like what I dreamed it would be. It's just exactly what I wanted to say with the song. Yeah. And so it's a favorite. And also, something that's so funny, like people also always ask me about, like songs that they think are really personal, songs that they think are autobiographical. And the ones they always think are autobiographical are the ones where it's like, the pronouns I are, being used, and I'm talking about, myself as a writer, like the song and all the mistakes they made about the girl. And Right Place, Wrong Time, when I listen to it, even still, I feel like this is as autobiographical a song as I have ever written. And it is exactly how I felt when I wrote it in 2016. And it's in the times in my life when I feel like frustrated, and when I feel like not where I want to be, and like I'm fighting an uphill battle, which is how I feel right now. As I record this podcast, it is like exactly what I'm feeling, what is expressed in the song, both the words that they say and the actual story of the song, and how it unfolds and how it actually feels. That's just what it is. And so that's why I think I always come back to it as like a song that I love, because it remains just true. And it's like the ultimate, I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it's bad, but I know it's exactly what I want to say.
Yeah. How much, when you're writing a song where you have specific actors like Eric and Katrina in this case in mind, how much are you shaping it around their voices musically versus like lyrics, character, what the song is?
I think in the initial writing, it's more about it's about the lyrics and the character. I'm not really thinking about, well, I know Eric can sing this note and this is range, and I know Katrina can sing this note and this is her range. I'm just thinking about the characters, I'm thinking about the story, and I just want to get the story told. Because in this particular song, she's a singer, I knew that I wanted to be able to give her an opportunity to do some, in-your-face singing, because it felt like it would only serve the story of the song. But that kind of comes later. And I know them well enough where I'm like, okay, I'm going to write the song, get to the end, and then we're going to get in a room, and then we'll figure out vocally what happens, and then we'll shape that. And that's sort of what happened with the end of the song, where I knew, okay, they're going to do they'll do something exciting here as the kind of culmination of this song event.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the lyrics and the characters first, and then I worry about the music later.
Right. It's interesting because I also feel like, and the other time we've talked about Katrina a lot on the album is the actress, and that might be one of the major exceptions to this because what the song is about is partially like the way that Katrina can sing. So it's like more integral to the lyrics and the plot.
Yeah. I mean, and also because, it's like, because the song is about, people who are perfectly talented. They just were born on the wrong day.
Sure.
And so I think it's the song itself. It only makes more sense when the singer has a great voice, when her talent is so obvious, when her talent is so like, it's right there. We can all hear it and we're all excited by it and we're all cheering for it. And it doesn't matter at all. It has nothing to do with that. Because, as Abigail Pogorman says in the movie, art is not a meritocracy. Like, that's not what this business is.
Right.
And just because you're the most talented person, the most wonderful person with the best intentions, with the most exquisite, God-given talent, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do the thing you want to do. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to get the place that you want to get. Which is a really ugly truth, but it just is, you know? And it's like, and whenever I listen to the song and whenever I, get excited about Katrina singing, I always think of Cabaret, which is my favorite musical, and how people, always talk about how it doesn't make sense in Cabaret when Sally has a great voice, which is why, Sally should be cast with not a great singer, because if she has this great of a voice, what is she doing? Singing in a shitty club like the Kit Kat Club. And this idea of like, why would Liza Minnelli be singing in a shitty club like the Kit Kat Club? I just so don't agree. And I think it makes it even sadder because I think that is the reality. I think that there are countless people who are performing in awful places. There are countless people who are performing in their bedrooms who we don't even know about, who we'll never know about, because the circumstances of their lives are such that they don't get to show their talent. And whether that's, personal things that are stopping them, or whether that's, they're not getting hired for things and then eventually they don't get hired and they die, that's what it is.
Right.
And I think that is just the reality of this business. And so, so it makes, sense to me. And that's the sort of underlying thing that fuels this song.
It's like, I also think part of the tragedy, and definitely when you have someone like Liza Minnelli in Cabaret, it's we as an audience see that person's talent and the other characters in the show don't see that person's talent. And that's part of the tragedy. Yeah.
But it's like, it's unappreciated. And we know, and it's like, you want to like, jump through the screen and be like, don't treat her like that, Go give her name to a talent agent or something. But it doesn't always happen. Sometimes it does. Yeah. And sometimes it does. Like that's the hope, and that's the thing that certainly I hang on to. It's like, well, what if it's different? And a lot of people who I know who haven't gotten to the place they want to be, that's what they hang on to. And it's like, well, maybe, because that's the magic thing about it. There's no rules. So it's like, your life can change in an instant. And your life can change in an instant. You can end up, on Broadway, and your life can change in an instant and you can end up run over.
Sure.
And
yes. This song makes me think of, I feel like in a world where you ever did a version of an album or a concert where it was like Joe Iconis goes and it was country, or it was, some kind of, I'm saying country because that's what I think it is, but like if you were to ever take your work and kind of filter it like more fully through one genre as a lens, like would it be country, like folk country? Like what kind of genre would it be? Because I don't know, I just always think of this song as being like the entree into like some other Dolly Parton-esque style.
Yeah. I mean, there is something about country music. And, Bloodsong is a show that is, it's country, it's country tinged for sure, but it's not sort of whole hog country. There's like mariachi in that show, and there's and blues, and I do really love country music, and Dolly Parton is my favorite songwriter if I had to pick one, and I love the storytelling of country music, and I love the actual the sonic world of older country music for sure. There's just something so evocative about that, and I would love to write more in that world, and I have. And it's funny, I feel like my natural inclination when I'm writing is to either go to like this very melodic pop place, pop rock sort of, but with stuff like Yesterdays, or songs like even The Answer or something. This very melodic pop. It's like Weezer. It's like Fountains of Wayne, that sort of thing. It's that, or it's country music. It's sort of folky. Like even though I write on piano, a lot of times I'm sort of imitating acoustic guitar patterns, and that's what you hear more on like 52 or like the Whiskey Song, which isn't on this album, but and it's just sort of where I live when I'm like trying to write something that's telling a story, and unless the story and the characters are really dictating a style to me, it's usually going to be one of those two.
Right.
And so, which is just to say that I would love to write even more in the country, idiom.
Is it true that like Katrina and Eric have only performed this? Am I forgetting some?
No, you know who performed it? Danielle Gimbel performed it once.
Oh my God, she did, and it was amazing. And it also was like, wasn't it? It was last minute.
Barrington, yeah.
Of course she did.
Yeah, the incredible Danielle Gimbel, music copyist,
performer. Yes, of
music
course.
coordinator, performer.
And those are the only people that have performed
I think so.
it.
Yeah. I don't think another guy has ever performed it.
Maybe I should stop asking this because inevitably one of us, usually me, has forgotten one performance of a song.
That's right. Everyone listening, please be kind to us.
I don't think anyone else ever performed it. It was written after like all of the things where like, like it was never done at NYU in the showcase. It was never done by like a one-off performer.
Yeah, it's only lived in concerts. And and I actually also, I remember the first time that we did it, which was at the string of shows we did in 2016 at 54 Below. It was the string of shows where Betty Buckley did Old Flame. I remember as we were doing it for that first time, me being at the piano at 54 Below and feeling like even me and us being on this literal stage in this literal building feels like it's connected to this song. It feels like if we would have been in this world, in 54, it wasn't 54 Below, it was Studio 54.
Sure.
If we would have been in this world in the 70s, I think we would have done okay, and perhaps slightly more okay than we're doing at this time. Like I so had this sense of like, because I felt that so many times in my life where I'm just like, I'm not the guy for this particular moment. It's like, I wish like I was a little bit earlier or a little bit later or something. And it's like, it's this thing that like haunts me. And I think sometimes in my career, I've been very lucky where I have sort of met up with a moment which is how like Be More Chill happened. But I do, my overwhelming sense, that's the thing. And it maybe it's in my head or maybe it's not. That's the thing that I'm always, I feel like, secretly battling. Like that's like my demon, this demon of like, you were born on the wrong day, you should have been born 5 years earlier or 25 years earlier or 10 years from now. And so I think like that, just performing it on that ground, it was like impossible to not think about that.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah. And Katrina wore a shirt that said "End of Story," which is one of my favorite Katrina Rose Dideriksen outfits.
Just Katrina putting a button on the song, but with the thing on her shirt. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for listening or watching to my podcast. Do me a favor and go to wherever you just listen to or watch this thing and subscribe or like or give us a great rating or review, and then head to bpn.fm/album to find out even more information about this podcast, more ways to watch, more ways to listen, and check out my album. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Album Podcast is executive produced by Liz Armstrong, produced by Dori Berenstein, Alan Seals, Kim Garris, and the rest of the team at the Broadway Podcast Network. Be sure to visit bpn.fm/album for both audio and video versions of this podcast and to listen to Album.
Mm-hmm.